when you were here in October, I think you were just starting to get behind the Trump movement, but at that time...
I was. At that time, I wasn't sure.
At that time, he had, they had maybe had one or two debates. Everybody was still saying this was a joke. I think I was still saying it was a joke. It's clearly not a joke anymore.
It's not a joke. No. What is it? Was that great Bob Monkhouse line? No one's laughing now.
Exactly.
Well, actually, we are. Generation Trump are having a great time.
Yeah, you guys are having a great time.
We're the only people who are laughing. No, when I did your show, and I did Joe Rogan, who's also great. I did his show, and at that time I was like, well, do I really want Trump in the White House? I'm not sure. Right, I'm not sure about that. But I'm enjoying the spectacle. My views have evolved.
Take me through the evolution.
Well, you see, I care about all the things that you care about. And I see the best way to accomplish what we collectively want, to throw our lot in with a politician that doesn't look like the rest of them, that it terrifies the rest of them. I mean, the prospect of a Trump candidacy, the prospect of a Trump presidency terrifies not just liberals but conservatives too, because he threatens to blow apart the political consensus, to blow apart, political correctness in particular. If you believe, as I do, that it is one of the great cancers of public life, there's nobody better situated to have fun with that than Trump. If you believe that, not just the left, but the right has lost its way too. If you believe that,
wait, let's do one of these at a time. So if you believe that you want to just blow the system apart, the first thing that you mentioned...
I'm an engine of chaos. I think they're all... Am I allowed to say?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
I can say what I want?
So you're like the Joker
say whatever I want?
in Batman.
Sure.
In the movie,
sure?
Right? He just wanted chaos.
People say that, and then I start.
Yeah, say whatever you want.
Fine, they're cunts.
Yeah.
They're
okay.
all.
But so you want to burn? So basically, you would want to burn the system down.
When I see GOP politicians telling CNN reporters, I think it was CNN, the public doesn't pick the candidate, we pick the candidate.
Yeah.
I just think to myself, you deserve to burn. These people don't like the public. They don't like their own electorates. And the Republican Party has become as hostile to its own base as liberals have always been. They've started talking about their own base in the same way that liberals always have. You've got National Review publishing disgusting things about white working class Americans, just awful. These people aren't going away, and these people are angry and frustrated. And what's interesting about Trump, I think, is he's captured the imagination of a huge swathe of the population, from what you might call traditional Trump supporters. The veterans, the white working classes who feel very disoriented by this new globalized world and very concerned about mass immigration for wage reasons and for cultural reasons too, and they're right to be concerned.
So those are just
both of those accounts. And the question I always get asked, and I don't mean to disrespect that group at all, because that group is my readership and I love them. But when people ask me, well, why do smart people vote Trump? What they mean is, why do people like us vote Trump? We're not, because we're not supposed to, right? We're not you. I mean, obviously not you. But why do people like me vote? Why would I vote Trump? Why do media types vote Trump? And the answer to that is he represents the best hope we have of smashing political correctness apart, of breaking open, all of the taboos, stuff you're not supposed to say, allowing real debate to be had again. Today, it is impossible in America to have an honest discussion about the wage gap, about whether or not men and women get paid different amounts of money. We won't get into that today, but.
Well, we can use radical Islam as a more relevant example.
You
right?
can't have an honest discussion. You would lose your job, or you wouldn't get invited back. You'll never get a column at a national newspaper. The Overton window is so narrow and pushed so far to the left that something big has to happen. A big, tumultuous event needs to happen. And I believe that event is a Trump presidency, because I think it will destroy the Republican Party. They will never win another election, which is what I want. And I think the same thing will happen on the left, too, with the Sanders-Hillary kind of tearing apart.
Oh, it's coming on the left. I have no doubt.
What I want, and I think this might be what you want, what I want is a sort of new political realignment on libertarian authoritarian lines rather than left and right. And I want a new consensus to emerge of disaffected liberals, classical liberals, dissident minorities like gays, small state conservatives, libertarians, people who basically want to be left alone, people who believe that government should have some limited functions, but our culture should not be policed, our language should not be policed. We should be able to do, be, say, think, and act exactly as we please. Now, I believe there is a majority majority in this country who would get behind that sort of cultural insurgency. And this election is the first election in American history that is being fought not on foreign policy and not on economics. It's being fought culturally. It has been excited. It has been stirred up by a cultural figure, by a reality TV star, by an American icon.
Yeah.
I've come around to believe that actually having Trump in the White House would be wonderful. And if he finds himself in the White House and isn't able to achieve very much, aside, Daddy's going to build a wall, and Daddy's going to fix trade, and that's going to happen. If then things start locking up because he's got a non-compliant, left and right in all of the various machinery of government, I don't see that as a particularly bad thing. One of the best presidents in history was Coolidge. Why? Because he did absolutely nothing. Having like a Coolidge with bluster would be no bad thing. And all of the criticisms that are normally levelled at Trump, all of the stuff that people say is clownish and he's populist, I don't see those things as intrinsically anti-presidential. I mean, in fact, presidential material is very much in the eye of the beholder, and clearly there are enough Americans who do believe that Trump is presidential. What's really exciting about Trump is that he is, in the same way that we are, I think, and I definitely am, Trump is a direct creation of the progressive left. He has been brought about, he exists, because of the people that we both hate.
So I'm with you there. I've been saying this for a long time.
They have bullied and policed and harangued and hectored and name-called for so long. They've told people they are homophobes when they're not. They've told people they're sexist when they're not. They've told people they're racist when they're not. They've told people they're transphobic and they don't even know what that means.
Yeah. Right. You're bringing out all the heavy weapons here to bring me over, because I get this. You're going to the things but this is exactly why.
I don't care.
This is why I've wanted to fix the left, because I didn't want this to happen.
Well, it's too late now, buddy. So, either get on the train or, who cares?
Okay, so what do you not see some risk? Even if I grant you all that, and you say a lot, so it's hard to get my questioning in order.
You seem to have granted me all
Even if
that.
I grant you all of that, do you think that there's some risk that by unearthing all of the ways we speak to each other, again, I say this as the most pro-free speech person there is, I am definitely now seeing a real current of racism rising up, a real current of really hating Muslims, of really hating Jews, of really hating the other. I'm seeing it bubble up on social media. I don't know
you're misreading the situation.
So how am I misreading that situation?
Well, you see, are we not worried about this stuff bubbling up? It isn't bubbling. It's always been there. It's always there. People have prejudices about people. Sometimes those prejudices are right. When I was speaking at Rutgers, somebody, one of the students asked him, well, there are studies that show that white people think black people are loud and obnoxious, and that's racist. And well, maybe that's a cultural thing. Black people do use language differently, and they just couldn't wrap their head around the fact that a prejudice might be right. Now, it's what you do with that sort of assumption or prejudice or whatever that matters. Okay, it may be that. Look, two things to say on this, right? One is. There's no hatefulness and racism and sexism and homophobia left in this country, really. Most of the expression of that kind of stuff is driven by the left when it sort of, they go looking for homophobia. They call around all these, bakeries in the Midwest or whatever. Finally, they find somebody who says, no, we'd rather not do a lesbian wedding. Like, guys, we found some homophobia. Excellent. They go all in on it.
Right.
Well, it makes me want to go out and bash queers when I see, I'm so angry about it because it's just such obvious bollocks. Now, the second thing, and when you police down, like crush people, it creates exactly what you're claiming that you are looking for, and that's the sort of Kafkaesque self-perpetuating cycle of the left. Now, the second thing,
they're also using it specifically to attack Christians in this case, right? Because you don't see them going.
No, it's ideological. It's ideological. They're not interested in the bigotry. They don't care about fixing bigotry. They care about hurting Christians and ridiculing Christians. That's all true too. The second thing is, you say you're seeing all this stuff bubble up on social media. Well, let me take the ultimate example, what remains the big taboo in society, which is anti-Semitism, right? Most of the generation Trump, the alt-right people, the people who like me, they're not anti-Semites. They don't care about Jews. They may have some assumptions about Jews. They may have some prejudice about Jews, like the Jews run everything. Well, we do. The Jews run all the banks. Well, we do. The Jews run the media. Well, we do. You know, I mean, they're right about all that stuff. Now, what you do with that is the issue. But the reason they go on about
I don't even know where to start with that, so just go.
We do. It's a fact. This is not in debate. It's a statistical fact. You know, Jews run most of the banks. Jews completely dominate the media, vastly disproportionately represented in all of these professions. That's just a fact. It's not anti-Semitic to point out statistics. But you know, you seem to have you've missed what you agree with me on feminism. Like, it's not sexist to point out statistics. I'm suggesting to you, it's not anti-Semitic to point out that these things are true. Now, the anti-Semitism on the internet, which is really important, and I want people to understand this because nobody seems to. When Jonah Goldberg of National Review or whatever is bombarded by these memes of, like, whatever it is, and anti-Semitic, take a hike, and all this kind of stuff, it's not because there is a gigantic outpouring, a spontaneous outpouring of anti-Semitism from 22-year-olds in this country. What it is that it's a mischievous, dissident, trolly generation who do it because it gets a reaction, right? That's been the case for young people for generations. It's just that now they have access to things that really get under people's skin, and internet-scale economics and viral dynamics.
Right.
And they can get to people in positions of power, and people in positions of power keep biting, and they keep taking the bait. Look. That
sort of explains. This is what I said at the beginning of the show, that you're sort of a micro-Trump to me, because your rise has been. I know you want to think you're bigger than Trump, but you're not. No.
Look, everybody's daddy to somebody, right? I'm very happy for Trump to be my daddy, and I'll be daddy to everybody else.
But basically, what you're saying is that they're just using the tools to get people angry, and then it causes another reaction, and then there's another reaction, and that is what brought Trump around.
It's trolling, and this is a direct response to the language policing. It's a direct response to people being told they can't say things. What you've got to remember about the millennial generation, and my fans run as young. I get emails from 13-year-olds, right? These people don't know what the Holocaust was. They don't know. They don't have any living relatives who were in it. They, in many cases, don't even really remember 9/11. They haven't lived through these big traumatic events in world history. They're just trolling, and they've recognised that, saying stuff about Jews gets on the nerves of journalists, and you can get, it's like, I've seen that guy on Fox News, he's on the TV, and I just tweeted him, this stupid Jew meme, and look at him, he's going, fuck it, he's so triggered,
Right.
And you know what, it's fun. It's funny. I find it funny, because once you recognise that it's not really about the Jew thing, it's about trolling and provocation, and that's the thing that they've identified works really well, you begin to, when you look at it, it starts to make more sense. You're like, yeah, of course, yeah. Racism in this country? I mean, there is no KKK. What is it, like a few thousand members left that we're constantly told white supremacy is a problem? There are no white supremacists. There are no white nationalists. They're not in the media. They're not in politics. They're nowhere. They have no purchase whatsoever, no influence, nothing. If there is a racially supremacist movement, it's Black Lives Matter, and it's very well funded, and it's massive, and it gets fawning coverage from the media. There's no white supremacist movement in this country. And what Trump supporters primarily are reacting to is being lied to and lied about for decades by the establishment. And for me, Trump is a very necessary correction to that. He is part of the cultural libertarian movement that you and I think, both would identify with. I would say he is the ultimate icon of that movement.
So basically, you think that nobody else could do this. So I'm with you on a lot of this, because we do meet in that cultural libertarian space, and I get the language stuff, and I get what you're saying about the anti-Semitism and all of that stuff. I really do. I understand that, and that's why I never attack people. I try not to fight with these people when they're attacking me on Twitter or whatever.
All they're trying to do is get
they just want me.
They don't care about the subject because it's some 17-year-old kid,
right?
And the left uses this 17-year-old kid trolling on the internet as evidence that there's some uprising of anti-Semitism. Are they nuts?
Right. Well, the left doesn't do it with anti-Semitism because they're okay with that.
They're fine with that, but they'll do it with everything else.
Right. Okay.
They certainly do it with the anti-feminism stuff. They suggest that there is this epidemic of misogyny,
and they just find a random tweet,
and they find all these tweets from young boys, and so the young girls are congratulated and applauded and encouraged to be hateful toward men. right? When they can get involved in kill all white men hashtags, masculinity so fragile, I bathe in male tears. You see teenage girls doing this stuff, and it's hateful and it's horrible, and they're going to be alone and miserable forever because feminists have ruined them, right? When men do anything remotely similar, they will come in for the most appalling censure. They get suspended from school. This is why girls tweet under their own names very often, partly because many of them are being trained into being cry bullies. They're being trained into being, into putting provocations out there and then squealing, victimhood. The girls are being taught the victimhood and grievance culture is the way to get what you want if you have no talent. They're being trained, into all of this stuff. Boys, on the other hand, very often are anonymous. They like Poll on, they like 4chan. They like all of these places where they can go let off steam and get all that boisterousness out of their systems, which is a perfectly normal, healthy thing to do.
This is where they would also play video games and get some of that aggression out,
exactly.
And not
and then they call each other faggot and whatever. I mean, can you imagine what a career I could have made out of being offended by the word faggot? I'm just like, no. I wrote a column saying I want faggot, gay, and queer to be in common usage. That's how you take the power away from these words, if you believe they have power. Not banning them, but elevating them up into these these taboos. So I wrote this column. I said, look, I want gay to be restored to its real, to its prestige meaning. It should, the real meaning of gay is like crap, rubbish, shit, lame, Hillary supporting, immigrant loving. That's what gay means. When somebody, I mean, it's not in the dictionary yet, but I'm sure they're getting around to it. This is what I want gay to mean. When somebody says something stupid, I want you to be able to say that's gay, or stop being a faggot. It doesn't mean anything. Well, these people aren't homophobes. They do it because it gets to you. And if there are any journalists watching this, please just learn this lesson.
Well, it does show you how pervasive the ideology is, this controlling ideology, because I see even now when I'm with just some of my gay friends who are supposed to be the most over-the-top and not politically correct and actually they've become the most politically correct.
The left has done this.
But this goes to what I was saying earlier, that in a way this ideology, what it wants is not you, because it doesn't want you as the individual, it wants you as the collective. And then once it wants you as the collective,
it wants you as the identity, as the identity, right? So you're black or you're gay or you're a tranny, and it wants to put you in that bucket and tell you what you're supposed to believe about things and tell you how to get what you want, even if you're not prepared to work and you have no skills, because you can just pretend to be offended about things and you'll get on TV. They want you as a bucket, and gay men have fallen for this hook, line, and sinker. They're really fucked up. But fortunately, there is an awakening in the gay community. There is something happening, and there is something happening among gay people. And I've noticed it at dinner parties, and I've noticed it on social media. There's something happening with gays. They're beginning to recognise the left is not their friend. They're beginning to rediscover the virtues. When we were talking in the last show, and I said, one of the great things about gay life is you can be outrageous and different, and you can topple out of a club on a Monday afternoon, like drugged off your face, and with a cock in every orifice. You can do whatever you want. And it's that bit of gay life that creates all of the artists and inventors and geniuses. Is why we're so overrepresented in all the people that shove society forward, right? That's the kind of gay life that I like. That's the kind of gay life that I celebrate. That's the kind of gay culture I think is valuable. And gay people are starting to rediscover this because they're starting to realise the left is not their friend, that feminists don't have their interests at heart, that in fact they're fundamentally hostile to many of the things that make being gay great.
Right. So for these guys, for gays, lesbians, whatever, when they see the left defending Islamism and they go, wait a minute, I could be that person.
These people want to throw us off roofs and put us on cranes in 11 countries. Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
And for some reason, guilty leftists feel the need to defend this idea.
Idiots, yes.
Well, so let's look at the ideology.
How can you support this? How can you support this? I mean, what they want is for us to. They expect us to believe that above gay people, above women, above blacks, I mean, the blacks is the worst thing, right? I mean, they actually, there's one group of people in this country who have genuine grievances, to whom something is still owed, and that's the black community, right? There is a legacy from slavery. I don't happen to believe that Black Lives Matter is the answer, because I think it's hateful and divisive, and the only real result of Black Lives Matter is black cities in flames.
Yeah. Wait, let's not gloss over that, because I think people are going to are going to try to gloss over what you just said. You're saying that the black community does have legitimate grievances.
Of course it does.
They were brought here by and large as slaves.
Of course it
and then the
of
system
course
was
it does.
working
Would
against
anybody ever suggest otherwise?
Well, I think a lot of people would say, if you're against Black Lives Matter, you're against.
Nobody's done more for the black community than me. Normally on my back, but the issue is that the issue is very straightforward. Black Lives Matter is a hateful supremacy organisation. Insofar as it's organised at all, it's a movement of black supremacy. It's a bad thing, but. This is what the left, this is what the left likes to do. It likes to divide people. I've forgotten what we were talking about.
Okay, so bringing this all back to Trump. So what I haven't heard you say is anything related to policy, but before I even let you answer that, I think what you're just saying is it's completely irrelevant. That's what you're saying, that this movement has nothing to do. It's not a political movement in that there's nobody to take Trump's place after, right? If Trump became president via all of this stuff, all of this cultural stuff, he's creating
president after.
He's creating it's you, you're VP.
No,
well, he's creating a cultural movement.
I want to be press secretary. I want to be press secretary.
You would be a good press secretary.
I'd be a fantastic.
I'd back you.
Can you imagine?
I'd back you.
Daddy doesn't feel like answering your questions today. I'm going shopping. Put your comments in the box. See you later.
But what you're talking about is a cultural revolution, not a political revolution. So that's interesting because Bernie, who's talking a lot about flip the system and our system's corrupt and money in politics, the same thing, he's talking about a political revolution. And basically you're saying, forget that, that's a waste of time.
Because he's an idiot and he's 20 years out of date. That would have worked before when people were upset about, economics, upset about foreign policy and politics. And it would have worked 10 years ago with the Iraq War. Now this war is cultural. There's a cultural war, and there's only one candidate for president fighting this war culturally, and it's Trump. He doesn't care too much whether he is occasionally inconsistent on policy because he understands that nobody else does either. And he's very strong.
So that's a sad thing?
No,
that's sad.
No,
sad. I'm sad about that.
No, because
I studied politics. Sad over here.
Why did you study politics? God. Look, he's made two very clear statements. One is that he wants to build a wall, and that's emblematic of what he believes about immigration and and illegal immigration in particular. They can come over, as he says, but they've got to come over legally.
Which in and of itself isn't racist, right? I'm willing
What's racist about that?
Well, people keep yelling racist.
Not even another race. Mexicans aren't another race. They're white, aren't they?
Yeah. Well,
are they white? Hispanic? Because you Americans have this sort of Hispanic
We're very
thing.
confused. I'd have to get my chart.
You try to invent divisions between people so that anything anyone says about anyone can somehow be called racist. I mean, Hispanics are white, aren't they?
I'll bring the chart next time.
I
don't want to get bogged down.
This is a you thing, not a me thing. You people make these rules up. We just have to live in it and live in your world.
Yeah.
No, of course it's not racist. What he's saying is that there is, and in fact, of course, his concerns about immigration benefit the black community more than anybody else, because when new Hispanic immigrants come in, it's black wages they depress, not primarily necessarily white wages.
By the way, Barack Obama said something to that effect when he was running for president the first time.
Yes, he's done so much for the black community. I mean, racial harmony in America now, it's such a lovely thing. 8 years of Obama. Don't we all just love each other after 8 years of Obama? No, he's been the most disastrous president for blacks in American history.
Is that Obama's biggest failure then? That he came in with a political and cultural revolution, right? It was political and it was cultural. It had both elements to it. Yeah. But what he's going to exit with, regardless of who comes in.
Everything is worse, and everything is worse as a result of him.
Well, the economy is not worse, right? The American economy is better right now than it was.
Well, okay, but...
you give me... Look, gays can get married. I know you're not a big proponent, but it's
cool. I wish they would stop.
I know, but...
I wish they would stop.
In the name of equality,
stop getting married,
because you're
ruining, they don't work as hard because they're all interested in,
all of that,
come over, Michael, I'll cook for you.
You can have all that.
For God's sake.
But I know you're for equality, so I know you're okay with it.
Ish.
Right. But, so is that really his failure, that when he leaves this thing after 8 years, what could be ushered in after, and not that it's purely his fault, but what could be ushered in after is going to be a complete flip of the system?
I don't know. That sounds
good to you, so it's not a failure of his.
Well, no, I mean, I don't... We live in exciting times when pretty much everyone in the country wants the establishment to suffer. Pretty much everyone in the country hates journalists, hates politicians, hates the more they find out about what their kids are being taught at college, largely thanks to me, I think, they hate that too. And we live in exciting times. People want to tear the system apart. They want to rebuild the system in a different way. I've suggested that I'd quite like to do it along authoritarian, libertarian lines, because I think that makes more sense. The way people communicate these days and people's priorities, I think people are more interested in culture than economics in this election. That's the sort of realignment I want. It may look very different. What I like about Daddy, I like about Trump, is that he is introducing an element of realness and an element of fun and mischief into an arena in which, into public life, which is an arena in which there has been so little freedom and joy for so long that is a necessary correction, you know?
So that
you can't make jokes on TV anymore. Life isn't fun anymore. As a journalist, like if I were a regular journalist, right, and if I'm not a regular journalist because I work at a wonderful place, Breitbart, that lets me do, you know, outrageous and crazy things, and obviously now I'm becoming this sort of media figure. I've got more license to do stunts. If I were a regular journalist, I'd be so, and I mean, I know, you know dozens of them, I know dozens of them. It's a miserable life. There's so much you can't say. You can't tell the truth. You can't tell facts because somebody somewhere will get upset. You know, you can't say facts because journalism has become now more about virtue signaling to, you know, your fellow reporters than telling the truth about what's actually happening.
Right. So I got into a big fight with a BuzzFeed guy this week because they wrote a piece about the regressive left and claimed,
sweet Joe Bernstein.
Right. You fought with this guy too.
I have
right?
a soft spot for Joe Bernstein.
So I don't even want to give him any extra cred, right? Let's not. We don't have to waste any.
Don't even name him.
Yeah. Do we want to even?
This is what the left does. You see. This is what the left. This is what the left
I'm
does.
doing a Voldemort thing.
This is what the
here?
left does to Ann Coulter.
All right. So you want to name him?
No. If somebody's wrong, talk about it.
Well, so
shine the light on it. So
so this guy,
your progressive, your natural progressive tendencies just slipped out.
All right. So this guy,
you want to put him under the carpet. You want to censor him.
Credit here.
Why are you censoring Joe Bernstein?
So this guy,
Joe Bernstein from BuzzFeed. Joe Bernstein.
There you go.
See, I want the light. I want the full light of scrutiny on everyone I disagree with, so that other people can see they're wrong too.
So this guy basically wrote a piece on BuzzFeed
Joe Bernstein.
this week.
Go on, say it.
Is it Joel? It's Joel.
Joe. Say Joe
Bernstein.
There we go.
Wrote
Got
a piece on BuzzFeed this week. You know, you once called me a cultural librarian.
Yes, I did, because you're a pussy. Because you're a pussy.
I'm just not that angry.
Did you like that? Did you like that
right.
coinage? Because I'm a cultural libertarian, and because he's never got the balls to say what he really means.
It's not about balls.
I called him a cultural librarian. I thought it was great.
All right.
Yeah. Well, you just went straight back to the fucking reference section.
All right. So Joe Bernstein
from BuzzFeed.
On BuzzFeed.com, basically saying that you know, Majid Nawaz and Sam Harris and a few others, Bill Maher, you know, created this regressive left thing, but really what the regressive left thing is about is about alt-right hate, and those are the people that have made it a thing where I know, and every instance of it on Twitter and everywhere else is because of the few people that are left on the left, like myself, who have tried to make it into something. Now, again, that sounds like insider baseball stuff, but it's
no.
But it gets to your
he's
point.
wrong about that, but he wrote a piece about me that was wrong too. What I did, so you are like, you know, oh, don't mention his name. What I did instead was I challenged him to debate me. I said, debate me. I'll give you $5,000. Rock up, 1 hour, debate me. You're wrong. Prove it. Prove your case.
Yeah.
Scurried into a hole.
Silence.
Scurried into a hole. It actually went up to 6,500. Now, to be fair to Joe Bernstein of BuzzFeed,
it's at Bernstein on Twitter. There you go. Okay, see, I tossed yourself.
There we go. See, to be fair to him, since then we've worked together, and you know, on pieces he's broken some news for me, and he's been very fair and very reasonable. But he was wrong about that and refused to debate because he knew he couldn't defend his arguments. The same thing I think applies with you too. I don't think he would be able to defend his position on that piece, which was obviously garbage.
Well, I tweeted at him. They all got hundreds and thousands of responses to him, and he ignored all of it, of course.
Yeah, and I don't think he'd show up to debate you either. But you should.
If you'll lend me the $5,000, well, I won't need it because I'd win the debate. So. Guess it wouldn't be a
no, you can't have any money.
But it goes. All right, but it goes to the.
I feel like Shapiro now. Why do we talk about money with your guests? Was it on your show that you asked him how much he was worth, how much he earned, or something like that?
Well, I wanted him as a one percenter to
tell people how much he earned.
I didn't want a number. I said
Did he give you a number? I can't remember.
He didn't. But he said he's in the over 400K, I guess, situation.
So what?
Yeah.
Who isn't?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Really?
Yeah, not in the.
I should write to Larry.
I know. I got to talk to Larry King. I'll make a note of that.